Imagine holding a single worn banknote from Iraq in your hand, one you might have bought for a few dollars, and a financial institution actually handing you $80,500 for it. It sounds like a scene from a fantasy or a heist movie, a number so absurd it defies all logic and every financial instinct you possess. Yet this is the very real, very shocking mathematical conclusion if you take the proposed revaluation rate of $3.22 and apply it to the current Iraqi dinar notes in circulation. Welcome, everyone, to a discussion that will fundamentally challenge everything you thought you knew about currency value and the potential future of one of the world's most watched monetary instruments. We are diving deep into the heart of the 2025 revaluation rumors, past the hype and the hope, and into the cold, hard math that supposedly underpins this entire speculative phenomenon. The figure of $80,500 isn't plucked from thin air. It's a direct calculation based on the face value of the larger dinar notes and this mythical $3 exchange rate. And understanding this math is the absolute key to separating desperate fantasy from plausible economic reality. Let's break it down with brutal honesty. The most common Iraqi dinar note held by international investors is the 25,000 dinar note. As of today, its value is based on the official rate of about 1,460 dinars to $1, making that 25,000 dinar note worth roughly $17. It's a fraction of its face value, which is why it's so tantalizing for speculation. Now enter the rumor of revaluation, or an RV, where the Central Bank of Iraq would dramatically increase the value of its currency, with one of the most persistent target rates being $1 equivalent a mere 0.31 Iraqi dinars, or conversely, one Iraqi dinar being worth $3.22. This is where the mental whiplash begins. If one dinar were to be worth 3.22, then simple multiplication applies to the face value of your note. A 25,000 dinar note multiplied by $3.22 per dinar equals $80,500. This is the raw, unadulterated arithmetic that fuels the entire online ecosystem of dinar gurus, chat forums, and speculative investment websites. It's a number that can cause a rush of adrenaline, a vision of instant, life-altering wealth achieved from a minimal initial investment. But this is the precise moment where critical thinking must override emotional excitement. We have to press pause on the dream and ask the single most important question that the promoters of this theory consistently ignore. What would this actually mean for the economy of Iraq? Let's scale this up from your single note to the national level. Iraq's money supply, the total dinars in existence, is measured in the tens of trillions. If you apply this $3 rate to the entire monetary mass, the value of Iraq's currency in US dollar terms would instantly become larger than the economies of most nations on Earth, dwarfing economic powerhouses like Germany, Japan, and even rivaling the United States itself. Iraq, with a GDP that is a fraction of those nations, suddenly possess a money supply worth multiples of its entire annual economic output. This is not just improbable, it is a fundamental violation of macroeconomic principles. It would be like a person with a $50,000 annual salary trying to claim their wallet contains $100 million in cash. The two figures are irreconcilable. The value of a currency is a reflection of the productivity, assets, and economic strength of the nation behind it. It is not an arbitrary number that can be declared without catastrophic consequences. An exchange rate of that magnitude would instantly destroy any semblance of a functioning export economy for Iraq, as no one could afford their oil or any other goods. It would make imports so cheap it would wipe out local agriculture and industry overnight. It would be an act of economic self-destruction so severe that no credible central bank governor or finance minister would ever propose it, let alone implement it. So, while the math of $80,500 for a single note is simple, the reality behind it is infinitely more complex. And it is within that staggering complexity that the dream begins to unravel against the immovable walls of global finance. So if the breathtaking $80,000 windfall is an economic impossibility, what is the actual realistic foundation for the revaluation rumors, and why do they persist with such relentless energy year after year? To understand that, we must shift our gaze from the simplistic multiplication of face value and look at the genuine, albeit far more modest, signals coming from within Iraq itself. The core of the legitimate argument for a dinar revaluation does not lie in fantastical $3 rates. It rests on the very real and acknowledged problem of the dinar's current, artificially low value and the practical difficulties this creates for everyday life and economic development within the country. The official rate of around 1,460 dinars to the dollar was established as a temporary measure following the 2003 war, a necessary step to provide stability in a nation whose economy and infrastructure were in ruins. 2 decades later, Iraq is a different country, and the central bank has been openly and actively working towards a profound monetary reform, not for the benefit of foreign speculators, but for the future of Iraq itself. The primary goal is to de-dollarize the economy, to wean the nation off its dependence on the US dollar for large transactions, savings, and even real estate deals. When your own population lacks faith in the currency they carry in their wallets, it represents a significant leak of national sovereignty and a major obstacle to controlling your own monetary policy. This is the true, newsworthy story of 2025. The ongoing battle by the Central Bank of Iraq to strengthen the dinar's legitimacy and usage inside its own borders. They are doing this through a series of measured, technical steps, such as raising the value of the electronic dinar for international transfers, cracking down on currency auction manipulation, and promoting the use of local currency for all internal transactions. These are the actions of a serious financial institution building a modern economy, not a casino for get-rich-quick schemes. The persistent rumors of a massive, overnight revaluation are a parasitic narrative that has latched onto these legitimate reforms, distorting their intent and complexity into a simple, magical number. The ecosystem that supports this distortion is a powerful and self-sustaining one. It is fueled by self-proclaimed gurus who sell premium subscriptions for intel, by chat forum administrators who thrive on traffic and engagement, and by a human psychology that is inherently vulnerable to stories of transformational wealth. This ecosystem expertly cherry-picks any piece of news that can be vaguely interpreted as positive, from a mention of monetary reform in an Iraqi parliamentary committee to a technical adjustment in the Forex window, and presents it as the final definitive trigger for the event. They create a constant state of imminent expectation, a tomorrow is the day mentality that keeps the hope and the investment alive. When that tomorrow comes and goes without event, the narrative simply shifts, blaming delays on shadowy international banks or political maneuvering, and the cycle begins anew. This cycle has been repeating for over a decade, and it has proven to be remarkably resilient because it sells the one thing that is more valuable than any currency: hope. It is the hope of a life unshackled from financial worry, the hope of beating the system, the hope that a small forgotten investment in a desk drawer will somehow become the key to a new destiny. This emotional appeal is far more powerful than any dry economic data or rational argument. It allows people to dismiss the overwhelming evidence against a massive RV because they are not just investing in a currency. They are investing in a future version of themselves, a version that is free, powerful, and secure. This is why the conversation is so fraught with tension. You are not just debating exchange rate mechanisms, you are challenging a deeply held personal dream. But to navigate this landscape as an informed observer, you must learn to separate the signal from the noise. The signal is the slow, grinding, and unglamorous work of the Central Bank of Iraq. The noise is the constant drumbeat of specific dates and astronomical rates from unaccountable sources. Recognizing this distinction is the most critical skill you can develop because it allows you to see the real story of Iraq's economic evolution for what it is, while protecting yourself from the financial and emotional toll of a promise that is built on a foundation of sand. This brings us to the most critical and personal part of our discussion. How do you, as a viewer and potential investor, navigate this minefield of conflicting information, intense emotion, and high-stakes financial speculation? The answer lies in a disciplined commitment to intellectual honesty and a rigorous adherence to primary sources over secondary interpretation. If you take nothing else from this video, let it be this fundamental rule: trust only the official statements from the Central Bank of Iraq and the International Monetary Fund. These are the only entities with the authority, credibility, and responsibility to enact and guide Iraq's monetary policy. Do not rely on a guru's summary, a foreign member's translation, or a cryptic intel drop from an anonymous source. Go directly to the source yourself. When the Central Bank of Iraq issues a press release about its digital currency project or its measures to stabilize the parallel market, that is data. When a YouTube personality tells you that this press release is a secret code for a revaluation next Tuesday, that is noise. The difference between the two is the difference between being informed and being misled. The next layer of your defense is a solid understanding of basic global economics. Ask yourself the hard questions we've explored. What's the practical purpose of a currency? It is to facilitate trade, to serve as a store of value, and to act as a unit of account for a nation's economy. A rate of $3 for a single dinar fulfills none of these functions for Iraq. It would be an act of economic suicide, rendering all their exports, including their lifeblood oil, prohibitively expensive on the world market and flooding the country with destructively cheap imports. Compare this to the reality of other resource-rich nations. Norway has vast oil wealth, but its krone is not worth $10. Saudi Arabia has massive reserves, but its rial is pegged at a fixed, modest rate. These nations understand that a currency's value must be aligned with the overall health and size of the economy, not just one resource or a speculative wish. Apply this same logical framework to every new piece of news you encounter. Let's be blunt about the human cost of ignoring this advice. The dinar speculation industry is not a victimless game. It has led to real financial loss for individuals who invested life savings, took out second mortgages, or bought millions of dinars they could not afford, all based on promises that never materialized. Beyond the monetary loss, the emotional and psychological toll is immense, leading to strained relationships, constant anxiety, and a cycle of hope and despair that is expertly manipulated by those selling the dream. Protecting yourself means recognizing that the entire premise of an overnight, life-changing revaluation is a narrative designed to capture your attention and your money, not to educate you. So what is the path forward? It is to become a student of the real complex story. The genuine story of the Iraqi dinar is a fascinating case study in post-conflict nation building, monetary sovereignty, and economic development. It involves political wrangling, technical financial reforms, and the arduous task of rebuilding a society. This is the story you will not hear in the sensationalized videos because it is slow, complicated, and does not end with a Lamborghini in your driveway. It is, however, rooted in reality. If you are truly interested in the dinar, let your curiosity be driven by a desire to understand this real-world process, not by the lure of a fictional payout. Follow the economic reports from the IMF. Read analysis from global financial institutions like Bloomberg or Reuters on Iraq's economy. This knowledge is your true investment. It is an investment in your own financial literacy and critical thinking skills, which will pay dividends far beyond any speculative currency play. These are the tools that will empower you to see through the illusion and make decisions based on fact, not faith. And this is the most powerful call to action I can leave you with. Become the skeptic, become the researcher. Demand proof, not promises. Your financial future is far too important to be left in the hands of anonymous sources and unfulfilled prophecies. Take control of the narrative by arming yourself with knowledge, and you will never again be at the mercy of a dream that was never designed to come true.